For a year now, we've been reporting on questionable spending by a South suburban politician named Tiffany Henyard, but we only knew half the story.
But it saddens my heart that you are up here at this special meeting and not downstairs where we have big bingo.
What's going on with Tiffany Henyard, the so-called super mayor of Dalton, Illinois? Well, grab some popcorn because the drama unfolding here is something straight out of a reality TV show. It seems like the controversy never stops when it comes to Henyard, and the FBI is now digging deep into her world of alleged corruption, shady deals, and power plays. This story has it all: money, scandal, betrayal, and a whole lot of accusations that just keep piling up. And trust us, you're going to want to stick around because we're about to break down every juicy detail.
The township residents are paying for her fund.
So picture this: Henyard, the mayor of Dalton, a small suburb of Chicago, has been under the spotlight for a while now. It's not exactly for her leadership skills, though. Instead, she's caught in a whirlwind of accusations involving misuse of public funds, retaliation against political opponents, and some seriously questionable spending habits. The FBI finally stepped in, and things are getting wild. But before we dive into all the drama, let's rewind a bit and see how we got here. Henyard didn't just appear out of nowhere. She's been in politics for years, and in 2021, she became the first female mayor of Dalton. It was a moment of pride for many in the community, especially as she positioned herself as someone who was going to clean up the town. But fast forward a couple of years, and now she's the center of an FBI investigation. The very people who once supported her are now some of her biggest critics. So what went wrong? Let's start with the most recent bombshell, the FBI's probe into her alleged corruption.
Coming in, unfortunately, we knew it was going to be a little messy, but it's just something we felt important that had to be done, that should be done. But like I said, you have just some accountability.
The FBI started sniffing around after business owners in Dalton began reporting that Henyard was using her position to strong-arm them into making donations to her political campaigns. And if they didn't, well, they found themselves facing all sorts of mysterious obstacles. One of the biggest stories that surfaced was from Lawrence Gardner, a business owner in Dalton who runs a U-Haul rental and trucking business. Gardner came forward saying that Henyard's administration refused to renew his business license because he didn't cough up a donation for one of her events. He was frustrated to the point of going to the FBI with all his paperwork, laying out exactly what he believed was a case of political intimidation. And he wasn't alone.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
Multiple business owners have come forward with similar stories. They were either forced to contribute to Henyard's political campaigns or face roadblocks in running their businesses. The allegations are serious, with claims that certain businesses were denied licenses simply because their owners wouldn't play ball with Henyard. These stories paint a pretty grim picture of what life has been like for business owners under her administration. It's one thing to run a small town, but it's another thing entirely to allegedly use that power for personal gain. And now, with the FBI involved, it looks like this small-town scandal could turn into a national headline. The FBI has reportedly been interviewing witnesses, gathering evidence, and using electronic surveillance as part of their investigation into Henyard's alleged misconduct. And the list of accusations is growing by the day. One of the major things they're looking into is Henyard's spending habits, because let's just say she's been living large on the town's dime. Rumor has it that she's spent hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars on things like luxury hotel stays, lavish out-of-town trips, and a massive police security detail that's been clocking in overtime left and right. And we're not talking small numbers here. We're talking about some eye-popping figures.
We needed those officers to be on the street fighting crime. And instead, we have several officers that are riding around protecting them there.
One of the most shocking revelations was the amount of money being spent on police overtime to protect Henyard. Reports suggest that the town of Dalton has been shelling out insane amounts to cover these costs. Some even say it's in the hundreds of thousands. It seems like Henyard has been using the police as her personal security detail, even when traveling out of town for what should be personal trips. There's been talk of her using public employees and tax dollars for things that have absolutely nothing to do with the running of Dalton, and instead, everything to do with boosting her own image. The optics aren't great, and it's no wonder people are outraged. But it doesn't stop there. In fact, one of the biggest shocks came when a law firm that had been representing Dalton in multiple liable lawsuits suddenly quit. Why? They weren't getting paid. It turns out the town's finances are in such bad shape that they couldn't even pay the lawyers who were handling over a dozen lawsuits. The village of Dalton is now swimming in lawsuits and debts, and a lot of fingers are pointing at Henyard for her financial mismanagement. The town's finances have reportedly been in free fall ever since she took office, with many wondering where exactly all the money has been going.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Henyard's spending. She's known for throwing extravagant parties and events, like the infamous Taste of Thornton Township, where she reportedly spent over $85,000 on a mini concert featuring R&B singer Keith Wyatt and rapper Jay Holiday. That's a lot of money for a township event, especially considering the town's financial troubles. The spending didn't stop there. Bounce houses, DJs, sound systems, you name it, she splurged on it. And when the trustees tried to stop her, saying there was no budget for these kinds of events, she found a way around it. One trustee even called it a shell game because it seemed like she was shifting funds around to get what she wanted, even when the board voted against it.
One way that the government always does it is to go and investigate people around her, and that's what they're doing here.
And speaking of the board, they're not exactly on Henyard's side anymore. In fact, they've been fighting her at every turn, trying to limit her spending and get control of the town's finances before things get even worse. But Henyard, she's not backing down. In one particularly jaw-dropping moment, she actually vetoed a proposal that would have opened an investigation into her own spending. Yep, she literally had the power to allow a transparent investigation into her conduct, but decided to shut it down. If that doesn't raise some red flags, we don't know what does.
Who would make a one-day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon? And the main thing is, what is it?
At a recent village board meeting, Henyard's refusal to allow an investigation into her spending left residents foaming. The public backlash has been intense, with people showing up at meetings, demanding answers, and even calling for her resignation. Dalton trustee Jason House was one of the officials who welcomed the FBI's involvement, saying, "Our residents deserve financial transparency." But instead of addressing the concerns, Henyard's response has been to frame herself as the victim, claiming she's under attack. In one of her more memorable public statements, she said, "Our village, our community, myself, we are under attack." She's even gone so far as to suggest that this is all part of a smear campaign against her, orchestrated by a boys' club that doesn't want a woman in charge.
I think you should pay everybody. Is it a reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
It was for shirts. That's what it's for. You just got.
But if there's one thing Henyard is good at, it's keeping the spotlight on herself. Even as the FBI investigation heats up and the lawsuits keep piling on, she's been busy hosting community events and trying to paint herself as the people's mayor. She recently threw a big community picnic, complete with a bounce house and a food giveaway, and made sure to post about it all over social media. In a Facebook video from the event, she said, "I put my own money where my mouth is," claiming that the event was funded out of her own pocket after trustees refused to approve the budget. But of course, people are skeptical. After all, where is she getting the money for these events, especially when the town's finances are in such bad shape?
Sometimes we get invoices, but those invoices lead to more questions, and sometimes we don't get answers to those questions. And so it's not about clickbait, it's about just making sure the right thing is.
And then there's the whole issue with her charity, the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation. The FBI has reportedly been looking into the charity as well, especially after it was revealed that at least $10,000 in taxpayer money was funneled into it. The Illinois Attorney General even shut down the charity because it failed to file the required financial disclosures. It's not a great look when a charity that's supposed to be doing good is under investigation for misusing funds. And it just adds to the growing list of things Henyard is going to have to answer for.
The manpower was just very stressed and critical to the point of almost breaking.
Now, it's not just the residents of Dalton who are fed up with Henyard. Her own former assistant, now a trustee named Carmen Carlisle, has come forward as a whistleblower accusing Henyard of engaging in unethical and predatory behavior. Carlisle claims that Henyard has been manipulating employees, vendors, and residents for her own gain. In a statement to WGGN, she said, "For the past 2 years, Henyard has used her position to increase her influence, all while projecting a false image of success. Funded by the hardworking taxpayers of Thornton Township and the village of Dalton." Carlisle's statement is a major blow to Henyard, as Carlisle was once one of her close allies. As the walls start to close in around Henyard, the community is left wondering just how deep the corruption goes. With so many lawsuits, investigations, and scandals swirling around her, it seems like it's only a matter of time before the truth comes out. But Henyard, she's still fighting back, insisting that she's done nothing wrong and that she'll be victorious when all the dust settles. In one of her most defiant public appearances, she said, "I ain't never took a damn thing in my life," as she tried to reassure her supporters. Of course, not everyone is buying it. In the comment sections of news reports and social media posts, people are making their opinions loud and clear. One person wrote, "Lock up these scammers and her minions too. I don't forget about them, they'll blame her for it, but they're guilty too." Another frustrated resident chimed in, saying Dalton residents need to forcibly remove them from their offices, change all the passwords and door locks, and cancel all the credit cards. It has happened in other cities and states. Clearly, people have had enough, and the calls for Henyard's resignation are growing louder by the day. So what do you think? Is Henyard going to face the consequences of her alleged actions, or will she somehow manage to come out of this unscathed? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time with the latest on this wild saga.